Oh, oh, he's still on it. Oh, man. That was a nice one too. Wow, he almost bit it. I mean, he got to where it looked like it was in his mouth. He was, oh, there, I got him that time. That's so funny. I don't know if that was the same one or not, but that was fun. He hit that thing. First time I just saw the boil, second time he ticked it, and the third time he ate it. It's a fat one. I think there's a couple of them working right there. See what happens if I throw the jerkbait in there. We saw a couple push before we got right here, hitting bait. So we bit the swim bait across it. I have a feeling there's more than one. I want to see if they react to that jerkbait. Got him. I watched him eat it. I watched him eat that. Look at that. Look how he ate that thing too. I mean, that's when you got the right bait right there. Straight down. Front treble is in the roof of his mouth. Back treble is down inside his throat. I switched up to a Pointer 100. Just I wanted to try it. They started following the swim bait, but didn't bite it. So I wanted something with some action to it. So I figured I'd get a bait that was kind of the same size as the swim bait. So I went with the Pointer 100. It didn't take long before I caught one. I put it on the same rod that I've been throwing the jerkbait on, the 6'9" Tatula Elite with the Tatula SV. The Pointer 100 is a heavy enough bait. You don't really need an SV spool on it, but it's so comfortable, it's so easy to cast. I mean, why not? The SV spool is just awesome for throwing a stick bait like that. You know, small topwaters and everything are perfect for it. So it worked out right there. It's pretty cool. I saw that fish chase it, and when you chase it, or when they chase it like that, and you can see them, you can kind of adjust the cadence to see how the fish reacts. And I was able to do that. I was able to watch what the fish was doing, and you know, you twitch it faster. When they start going faster, you twitch it faster. You try to get them. You know, it's like, again, playing with a cat. You do stuff to try and get him to react to it, and I was able to watch what he was doing and play off of his, you know, what he was doing in order to catch that. The one thing that I've noticed in the fall is reading what the fish are doing and how they're reacting to baits. I've done it a lot with a topwater where they'll come up and shadow it, you know, follow it, but not eat it. And you switch to a jerkbait, and you can get those fish to bite. There's something about maybe they're conditioned to seeing something, or they're just not ready to completely commit to something a little bit higher in the column. Get something a little bit lower and they'll commit to it. And right now, I was catching them on a swim bait, and then all of a sudden I noticed that they quit biting it, but I started having a bunch of follows. I had 3 separate follows, and I sat down, I tied on a jerkbait, something that was going to be a little bit more erratic and get just a little bit deeper as well than the swim bait I was throwing. And it only took about 5 minutes and I caught my first fish on the jerkbait. So in the fall, you really want to pay attention to the clues of what's going on and adjust with them. You know, or at least try it. Just adjust with it, do something a little bit different, and see if you can make those fish react on a bait switch. Sometimes it can be all the difference in the world, you know, go from not catching them to catching the fish. So something to try in the fall for sure. In the fall, jerkbait is such a good bait to throw. You can cover a lot of water with it. You know, usually it's when the fish won't commit to a topwater, but they want it shallower than a crankbait. You know, it's that good kind of suspend, and kind of reminds me of like a, you know, here a Lake Mead, or over on Lake Amistad, something real clear water, a lot of cover, fall. You know, you run down the bank and you make a lot of casts, and the more casts you make, the better opportunity you have, and it's just such a fish catching bait. I got one. Did I ever catch one? That's the one that hooks you right there. Just so you know, that's a hook in the hand for sure. And he's hooked so good. All 3 trebles. And the one treble, it's like when you catch a bluegill when you're a kid. Every one of the hooks of the treble is in his mouth, has his mouth pinned closed. There we go. How big are you? Oh, it's a big one. Oh man, that's a big one. I couldn't even see the jerkbait when he jumped. I think he's got it down his gullet. That's a good one. Look at that. That's a nice one. Boy, that's a nice one right there. Best one of the day on a Lucky Craft. Oh, look at that one. That's a big one there. Look, he's got that Lucky Craft dog bone. Look at that thing. Oh man. You know, this bait right here is the Lucky Craft Pointer 95 Silent. We're throwing the swim bait. It gave me the idea that the fish were high in the water column. So I thought about that 95 Silent. It sits a little bit higher in the water column, has great action to it, and it doesn't have a rattle, it's quiet. And that one liked it. It's a nice one right there. Best one of the day. And again, jerkbait, light baits, Tatula SV spool, you can cast it so much farther. This is a Tatula Elite rod. This is actually a Seth Fighter rod. It's a 6'9" medium light. Perfect for a jerkbait, perfect for casting small baits, catching big bass. Another one. I think they're biting the jerkbait now. And they're getting it good too. And there's both trebles. The front treble is in their mouth both times. That's a good sign. Again, it's 95, Lucky Craft 95 Silent. And throwing that Tatula SV spool. So comfortable, so easy to cast a jerkbait. New Tatula Elite 6'9" medium light action rod. Just a perfect combo for a jerkbait, especially if you're throwing a real small jerkbait. This one isn't that small, you know, it's pretty easy to cast, but if I was throwing a pointer 78 or you know, even the old bevy cranks and little baits that you only weigh a 1/4 ounce or less, you'll be able to cast it really far with that SV spool. The fall is such a good time of year for throwing a jerkbait. It's a great shad imitation. The fish typically school, wolf pack, run, suspend, you know, they do everything. They're moving, they're not really hunkered down anywhere. A jerkbait, there's one right there. A jerkbait is a great bait for covering water and catching these fish that are, you know, bulking up for the winter. Basically what's going on is these fish are chasing bait they're not really hunkered down. You know, they're trying to feed and bulk up for the winter time, so they don't have to, you know, they're not too long from now, their metabolism is really going to slow down, and they just don't really, you know, eat as much, so they're bulking up, chasing shad. The thing I really like about the jerkbait is how much water you can cover. It's such a good bait, very erratic bait, and catches those fish that are just running. You know, I could run this whole bank right now and catch 20, and I could come back tomorrow and not catch a single fish, or vice versa. It's a bait for covering water. And one thing that I think is key in the fall is getting a little bit of wind. Right now, we have just a good afternoon chop, and that's getting those fish to really start roaming. It's breaking up that light penetration. It's changing it up, and it's allowing those fish to hunt better. That's when they really chase and feed. So typical things to use for throwing a jerkbait. This is a Lucky Craft silent. It's a 95. It's kind of an in-between size. But line, I always go with 10 or 12 pound test fluorocarbon. I run Sunline FC Sniper. Rod, I'm using a medium light action. This is actually a 6'9" Tatula Elite rod, and it's perfect for a jerkbait. Real soft tip, real easy to snap. The reel, I'm going with Tatula CT, which is the compact. But the new thing about this reel is the SV spool. The SV allows me to cast a smaller bait like a jerkbait. Especially if I was fishing into the wind, I can cast into the wind and not backlash. So SV spool really helps with jerkbaits, crankbaits, light worms, light baits, anything that is lighter and smaller, you can cast farther. So as far as how I fish it, I like to fish a jerkbait really fast, especially in the fall. You know, the water's not too cold yet. The fish are pretty active, so I want it moving pretty quick. I'm trying to make those fish react, you know, like a cat. If something just moves real slow, they won't touch it. If it goes flying by, they're gonna jump after it. So speed is your friend with a jerkbait. As far as the cadence, you know, pretty constant, but usually it's 1 snap, a pause, 2 snaps and a pause. How long you pause is depending on the conditions. Right now I'm going pretty fast. And just varying it up. You know, I'll snap it a couple times real fast and 1 quick pause, and then, you know, real erratic. 1 snap, 2 snaps, 4 or 5, you know, just being real erratic with it. That seems to be the key. But perfect conditions right now. Wind blowing bank, light's kind of low, the water's really clear, and anytime you have that wind and low light is a perfect time for moving, you know, moving bait in the fall. So a jerkbait is just something that's so effective this time of year. Just a sec. I gotta catch a fish first. Dude. The fish keep messing up my my audio. Get a good jump. All this stuff is available right here on Tackle Warehouse. And be sure to like, tag, and share for your chance at winning this week's giveaway.